You know the axe is coming when Chloe Vance, our 31-year-old chief executive officer who thinks synergy is a life philosophy, decides to replace the solid oak conference tables with meditation cushions. You cannot negotiate complex freight contracts with Midwest steel mills while sitting cross-legged on a squeaky purple pillow. But I did not think she would actually fire me. I am Edward Vance, 56 years old, and I have run operations at Atlas Logistics Group for 21 years. Before this, I spent 10 years in the Navy managing logistics for aircraft carriers in the Pacific and supply lines in the Gulf. Those 10 years in the Navy taught me everything I know about supply chains under pressure. I managed parts supply for a fleet of aircraft carriers, ensuring that thousands of sailors had what they needed, when they needed it, even during active military operations in the Persian Gulf. In that environment, a delayed shipment was not a minor inconvenience. It was a matter of national security. That discipline shaped my entire career. I entered the service at 19, came out at 29, and jumped straight into civilian supply chain management. I am the reason 342 warehouses across 15 states run like clockwork. I am the reason our drivers do not get stranded in Nebraska with a broken-down forklift and no spare parts. I sat across from Chloe in her glass office that smelled of lavender oil and coffee. She wore a blazer made of recycled plastic and a smile from a corporate manual. My father, Charles Vance, who is 81 now and built this shipping company from 2 trucks, would have laughed her out of the building. "Edward," she said, pressing her palms together, "we have assessed the company's energy flow and your management style feels legacy-based. It does not align with our pivot toward collaborative optimization." I stared directly at Chloe. The pack of cigarettes in my pocket felt heavy. "You are firing me because of my management style?" "It is not termination," she corrected in that fake positivity tone they teach in business school. "It is a realignment. We are realigning you to find an organization that matches your operational frequency. Your approach just does not sync with the future of industrial logistics." I looked at the clock on the wall. It was exactly 2:15. The daily inventory synchronization was scheduled to run its authentication protocol at 2:30 in the afternoon. That protocol required my biometric access. Without it, the system does not just pause. It assumes a security breach and locks down everything like a high-security vault. "Your approach," I repeated, tasting the words. "Very well, Chloe. You are the boss. You want a new strategy? You have it." I stood up. I did not yell or slam anything. I did not throw her organic succulents through the glass, though the temptation was strong. I simply reached into my pocket, pulled out my security badge with clearance levels higher than hers, and slid it across her desk. "You have 15 minutes, I said, keeping my voice flat. Chloe blinked, confused. 15 minutes for what? Take your time, Edward. We want this transition to be holistic. You have 15 minutes before the legacy system realizes I am gone, I said, turning toward the door. You see, Chloe, that legacy system you hate is held together by 20-year-old code, 3 servers in a basement in the Midwest, and my personal authentication keys. If I do not authorize the 2:30 synchronization, the system assumes a hostile takeover. It cuts the connection to our lenders. It freezes shipping manifests. The trucks stop and the warehouses lock up. She let out a nervous laugh that sounded like cracking ice. You are bluffing, she said. The technology consultants assured me that all our operations are completely cloud native now. The technology consultants? I almost smiled at Chloe's ignorance. You mean the 3 kids you hired because they had trendy tattoos and claimed they could revolutionize logistics using blockchain? I wish you the best of luck with them. I walked out of the glass office, passing the open-plan workspaces where dozens of junior employees sat staring blankly at their screens, and I felt a cold calm settle in my chest. It was not anger anymore. It was the precise feeling of a demolition engineer watching a countdown timer reach its final seconds. She wanted a vibe check. I was about to give her a seismic disruption. The elevator ride down from the 42nd floor took 55 seconds. It was enough time to reflect on 21 years of missed dinners and winter nights spent sleeping on a cot in the warehouse because backup generators failed. I gave my life to this company. My knees crack when it rains because I spent the winter of 2020 manually verifying inventory. And for what? To be told my frequency was off by someone who has never done a day of real work. The ground lobby was polished marble, clean and silent. I walked past the front security desk where George Davis sat working on his daily crossword puzzle. "Leaving early today, Mr. Vance?" George asked, looking up from his paper. "Permanent retirement, George," I replied, tossing the keys to the company vehicle onto his desk. "Chloe decided my energy frequency is bad for the corporate alignment." George snorted. "That woman would not recognize a logistics network if it ran over her foot." "This place is going to fall apart without you here." "That is the plan, George," I muttered, pushing through the heavy glass doors into the afternoon heat. The moment I stepped onto the asphalt of the parking lot, my personal mobile phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a pattern of short, and long vibrations that I had custom programmed years ago to signal critical system alerts. I pulled the device out and looked at the screen. The notification was blunt and clear. It indicated that the system synchronization authorization was completely missing for 3 key regional centers. Specifically, Warehouse 204, Warehouse 205, and Warehouse 206 were reporting authentication failures. The list of failing nodes began to scroll down my screen like a credit sequence at the end of a tragedy where every single character dies. The digital clock on the dashboard of my truck showed exactly 2:31 in the afternoon. The system had missed its deadline by 60 seconds, and the silent gears of our operation were already beginning to grind to a halt. I climbed into my truck, a reliable Ford F-150 that had survived more road salt and winter storms than a local highway plow, and threw my bag onto the passenger seat. The truck had 300,000 miles on the odometer, and the driver's seat was worn down to the springs, but it was a vehicle that had never once let me down. I sat in the cabin and lit a cigarette, taking a long drag and exhaling the smoke toward the glass tower. Yes, I know it is a bad habit, but when you have spent 21 years inhaling diesel exhaust and the cold air of warehouse bays, a little tobacco smoke feels almost clean. I stared up at the 42nd floor, imagining the first waves of panic starting to ripple through the open-plan office. Chloe was about to learn a very expensive lesson about the laws of physical operations. You cannot run a shipping company on positive thoughts and aesthetic furniture. Up on the 42nd floor, the silence of the afternoon was definitely breaking. I knew the exact sequence of events that was unfolding in the operations center. The real-time profit dashboard that Chloe had installed at great expense was flashing red. It was not a gentle warning yellow, but a bright pulsing nuclear meltdown red. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the internal operations group chat. Although I had been officially terminated 15 minutes ago, the automated permissions system had not updated my user credentials yet, allowing me to watch the chaos unfold in real time. The vice president of operations, Peter Henderson, was asking why the Chicago distribution hub was suddenly showing zero inventory. The human resources director, Michelle, was asking if it was a system glitch because the dashboard was reporting negative numbers for active stock. Then came Chloe, the chief executive officer, typing in all capital letters, demanding to know who had Edward's override password and ordering someone to call me immediately. I read the messages on the group chat, watching as the senior director of customer relations, a man named Howard who usually spent his days playing golf, started panicking about a shipment of medical supplies that was supposed to reach a hospital in St. Louis. The messages were coming in faster and faster, a digital cascade of pure corporate dread. It was clear that the reality of logistics was finally crashing down on their smooth, polished world. The agile consultants had no answers, and Chloe was silent. I exhaled another stream of smoke toward the glass building. That override code was not something you could write down on a sticky note and pass around the office. It was the product of 21 years of operational experience. It was knowing that the electronic scanner in Bay 19 of the Houston hub always reads double on Tuesdays because of the angle of the afternoon sun, and that you have to manually adjust the entry by 11%. It was knowing that the emergency system reset was not a physical button, but a complex command line script I had written in 2015, called disasteroverride.exe. When they escorted me out of the building, they did not just fire a legacy employee. They effectively lobotomized the operating system of their entire shipping empire. My phone was now vibrating so hard on the center console that it was sliding toward the edge like a suicidal lemming. The screen displayed an incoming call from Chloe Vance, Chief Executive Officer. I simply let it ring, watching the light flash in the dimming cabin of my vehicle. Let them sweat for a while. Let them experience the true energy frequency of complete system failure. I finally put the truck in drive, backed out of the parking space, and merged into the heavy afternoon traffic on the interstate. The show was just starting, and I had a front row seat to the demolition. Here is what Chloe and her team of consultants did not understand. A modern logistics network is not just a collection of trucks and warehouses. It is a living, breathing organism that processes millions of data points every second. If you cut the nervous connection between the brain and the body, the system goes into immediate shock. While I was driving toward the highway, listening to classic rock on the radio, the central nervous system of Atlas Logistics Group was experiencing a massive stroke. The legacy system was not just counting cardboard boxes in warehouses. It acted as an interpreter, translating the raw data from our ancient conveyor belts into clean financial numbers that our credit lenders required to see. Without my personal biometric authorization to run the daily data scrubbing scripts, the raw database feed was hitting the main servers directly for the first time in company history. The system defaulted to safe mode, quarantining all active stock to prevent theoretical theft. In an instant, a $65 million inventory vanished from the digital ledger, replaced by empty rows of red error codes. By 2:45 in the afternoon, a sales representative in our Detroit office was probably trying to process a critical order for 3,500 units of industrial welding equipment. He would have entered the stock keeping unit, hit the return key, and watched the screen blink blankly. The terminal would display a message indicating 0 available stock. He would shout in frustration, spilling his coffee, claiming he had personally counted 7 pallets of the equipment that very morning. He would search the database again, only to find the stock location marked as unknown and the status set to quarantined. This exact scenario was repeating itself across 342 warehouses simultaneously. Millions of dollars of inventory had simply disappeared into thin air, according to the computers. But the missing inventory was only the first symptom of the collapse. The real crisis was the money. Atlas Logistics Group operated on a $65 million revolving credit line. The credit lenders, represented by Union Mercantile Bank, used an automated compliance algorithm that pinged our inventory servers every hour to verify that we possessed enough physical collateral to cover our active loans. If the inventory value dropped below a specific threshold, the credit line would freeze automatically to protect the bank's capital. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the bank's automated query returned a value of 0. According to the digital ledger, our company owned nothing but leased office furniture and some expensive meditation cushions. The credit line was frozen instantly, stopping all electronic payments to fuel suppliers, maintenance crews, and independent contractors. The corporate purchasing cards used by the managers in the field ceased to function, leaving our regional distribution centers unable to buy even a replacement fuse. When Union Mercantile Bank froze the line, the financial impact was immediate and devastating. Our operations required constant cash flow to pay for road tolls, driver lodging, and emergency maintenance. Within minutes of the lock, credit card terminals at every truck stop across the country began rejecting our corporate cards. Drivers who had been on the road for 12 hours straight were suddenly unable to buy fuel or pay for a hot meal. They were stuck on the sides of highways, calling their dispatchers, who had absolutely no answers to give them. It was a complete operational paralysis. Then came the routing updates. At 3:15 in the afternoon, the automated dispatch system was scheduled to update the global positioning coordinates for every vehicle in our transport fleet. Because the database showed 0 active inventory, the routing algorithm assumed that all our trucks were currently empty. Under standard operating protocol, the computer instructed them to abort their missions and return to their home bases immediately. 1,120 transport trucks, many of them halfway to their destinations with critical cargo, were instructed to pull over and turn around on highways across 15 states. They were hauling medical supplies, manufacturing materials, and retail goods, and they were all heading back to where they started because a computer program believed they were transporting empty air. The radio announcer on the local station came on with a traffic update. He reported unusual congestion and backing traffic near the major industrial exit routes. It was music to my ears. I knew the physical world was beginning to match the digital disaster I had left behind. My phone was silent because I had switched it to Do Not Disturb, but the dashboard screen continued to flash with notifications. There was a text message from Diana O'Neill, our manager at the Key Warehouse in Iowa. She was asking where I was, stating that the local scanners were completely locked, drivers were backed up to the highway exit, and one of the independent contractors was threatening to block the gate with his rig. Diana was a veteran operator who had run that facility for 12 years, and she knew every driver by name. One of our senior drivers, a man named Gerald, who had been hauling steel for 20 years, was sitting at a rest stop in Indiana, refusing to move his vehicle because his digital logbook had flagged his cargo manifest as invalid. I could hear the background noise of running truck engines and shouting drivers over the receiver when Diana called. She was practically screaming to be heard. "Edward," she said, "the line of vehicles is wrapping around the block, and the local police are threatening to issue citations for blocking public roadways. I have got 40 drivers sitting in their cabs, and the automated gate won't open because the system is offline. They are demanding to know if they are going to get paid for their mileage today." I told Diana to send them all to the local diner on the company account for the time being, even though I knew the corporate cards would be declined anyway. It was a mess of epic proportions. I was well outside the city limits now, watching the tall buildings shrink in my rearview mirror as the interstate stretched into open country. The air was cleaner, and the road was empty. I was driving toward the only person who could truly appreciate the mathematical beauty of this corporate disaster. I reached for my water bottle and took a long drink. It tasted like absolute freedom and total vindication, but mostly vindication. The ironic part of the entire situation was that I had spent the last 5 years begging the board of directors for the budget to upgrade our legacy servers. I had written dozens of proposals warning them that a critical infrastructure failure was inevitable without systems modernization. Chloe had used those very papers as coasters for her drinks, telling me I was simply resisting progress and innovation. Now she was getting exactly what she wanted, a complete change in operations. I pulled off the paved highway onto a winding gravel road that led through a dense forest of pine trees. The reception on my phone was spotty here, but a final text message managed to squeeze through from an unknown number. I recognized the formatting. It was likely Sean Fletcher, my old system administrator, whom Chloe had dismissed 3 weeks prior to make room for her agile team. The message stated that the lenders had officially frozen the credit line. The trucks were turning around mid-route, and Chloe was locked in the executive bathroom crying while the consultants tried to restart the servers. I did not reply. I simply drove up the gravel path toward the lake house. The cabin of my father, Charles Vance, was a sturdy structure of cedar wood and river stone overlooking a deep lake that looked like polished steel. Charles had founded the company 30 years ago with just 2 trucks and a severe case of back pain. He had retired 4 years ago, turning over control of the business to the board of directors with a single absolute rule. They were to handle the legal paperwork and stay out of my way, leaving operations entirely to me. My father, Charles Vance, did not tolerate incompetence, especially from people who had never earned their position through hard work. He had built this logistics network block by block, spending years away from his own family to ensure the business succeeded. He knew every single driver, every warehouse supervisor, and every freight broker on our client list. To see a 31-year-old manager with no field experience sweep in and terminate the primary operational leader of the company was an insult to everything he had built. I parked my truck next to his old vehicle and walked up the wooden steps. The air smelled of wood smoke and pine needles. It was the kind of quiet that makes you remember what peace feels like after decades of noise. My father was sitting on the front porch, cleaning a fishing reel. He looked up as I approached, his eyes narrowing under his thick white eyebrows. "You were supposed to be in the afternoon operations meeting," he said, his voice sounding like dry gravel. "I got realigned," I replied, leaning against the wooden railing of the porch. Apparently, my energy frequency did not match their corporate vision. My father stopped working on the reel. He looked at me, then down at his hands, then back at me. "Fired?" he asked. "Chloe Vance gave me 15 minutes to pack my things and transition holistically," I said. My father closed his eyes and began to calculate the consequences. He knew the logistics network almost as well as I did. He understood the credit line requirements, the automated truck routing, and the safe mode database protocols. "The credit lenders?" he asked quietly. "Frozen as of 3 o'clock, I said. "The transport fleet?" "Turning around on the interstate," I replied. My father let out a long, slow breath. He reached for a bottle of whiskey on the table, poured 2 glasses, and handed one to me without saying a word. "You warned Chloe?" he asked. "I told her she had 15 minutes before the system realized. I was gone," I said. "She asked if I needed to meditate." My father took a slow sip of his drink and stared out at the water. "I built that transport network with my own hands," he said softly. "I missed your high school graduation to secure the northern distribution routes. I missed anniversaries to keep the trucks moving during the ice storm of 2019. And now she fires the chief engineer because she does not like the dust on his boots." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a heavy satellite telephone. "Who are you calling?" I asked. "The chairman of the board," my father said, dialing the numbers from memory, then the bank and then my attorney. He put the phone to his ear and waited. When Peter Henderson answered, my father's voice took on the cold tone he reserved for serious business. "Peter, it is Charles. Do not put me on hold and do not try to explain. Your chief executive officer just cut the throat of our company. Go look at the system logs for the termination of user Edward Ops Prime. When you see the timestamps, you had better pour yourself a drink." He listened to the frantic talking on the other end. "Fix it?" My father laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the trees. "We cannot fix it. The programmers you hired cannot fix it. There is exactly one man who can restore that database, and he is currently sitting on my porch drinking my whiskey. You had better hope he is in a listening mood." My father leaned forward, his voice dropping an octave as he delivered the legal blows. "Under the federal law known as the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, also known as the Warren Act, you just committed a massive violation by firing Edward and his core operations staff without 60 days of written notice, exposing the company to severe class action liability. Furthermore, Chloe is in gross breach of her fiduciary duty of care to the shareholders by shutting down our main revenue-generating system. Under our corporate bylaws, she had no authority to terminate a key executive without a board vote, meaning her action is completely void from the beginning. We hold 48% of the stock, Peter. If you do not resolve this according to our terms, we will file a shareholder lawsuit in federal court by tomorrow morning. Your price just went up, Edward." The satellite phone rang 5 minutes later with a sharp ring. My father answered it and placed it on the wooden table between us, switching it to the speaker setting. "Edward, are you there?" Peter Henderson's voice sounded thin and desperate through the static. "I am here, Peter," I said, taking a slow sip of my drink. "We need you to resolve this system issue immediately," the chairman said. "The lenders are threatening to default us. We are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every hour, and the stock price is dropping." "That sounds terrible, Peter," I said. "But I do not work for Atlas Logistics Group anymore. My frequency was not a match. It was a misunderstanding," Peter pleaded. "We are prepared to offer you your old job back immediately." I looked at my father, who shook his head slowly. "I do not come back as an employee," I said. "I come back as the vice president of operations. My base compensation quadruples, and I want a 12-month contract paid in full in advance. Non-negotiable." "That is an extraordinary request," Peter said. "The trucks are parked on the side of the highway, Peter," I reminded him. "Do you want to discuss salary, or do you want the fleet moving?" There was a brief silence, followed by whispered arguments. "Agreed," Peter said. "What else?" Second, I demand complete operational autonomy, I said. No more energy consultants. No more meditation seminars, and no more agile development programs run by people who have never seen a shipping container. I hire my entire team back immediately, including Sean Fletcher and Diana O'Neill, with 35% wage increases and written apologies from the board of directors. Agreed, the chairman said quickly. What is the final condition? Third, and this is completely non-negotiable, I said. Chloe Vance is removed from all operational authority immediately. She is not allowed to email me, call me, or make suggestions regarding our logistics systems. She can keep her title and her glass office, but she has no power over my department. The silence on the line stretched out. She is family, Edward, Peter said. She is a financial liability, my father growled into the phone. Agree to the terms, Peter, or I will sell my 48% share of the company tomorrow morning and watch the stock delist by noon. There was a long pause. We agree, Peter said. We will draft the contracts and send them to the cabin machine. When can you be here? I am 2 hours away, I said. The system stays down until the papers are signed, and I walk through the front doors to authorize the synchronization. We spent the 2-hour drive discussing the restructuring of the operations department. My father agreed to take an active advisory seat on the board to ensure that no further corporate experiments would interfere with the business. My father and I mapped out the immediate steps of the reconstruction plan. We knew that regaining the trust of our clients and the banks would be our most difficult challenge. We would have to call every major shipper personally, explaining that the shutdown was a temporary technical error and that their cargo would be delivered without further delay. We also planned to dismantle the new organizational layers that Chloe had introduced, returning the authority to the regional managers who actually understood the warehouses. My father stared out at the passing highway lights, his hands gripping the steering wheel. We are going to clean house, Edward, he said. No more corporate theories. We are going back to basics. We arrived at the Atlas headquarters at 9 o'clock in the evening. The building was lit up like a Christmas tree, and the lobby was crowded with anxious executives. We took the elevator up to the 42nd floor. The office smelled of cold coffee and panic. Chloe was sitting on her purple cushion in the corner of her glass pod, looking completely defeated. Her agile consultants were sweating over their laptops, trying in vain to bypass the security lockouts. Peter Henderson met us at the door with a folder of signed contracts. I reviewed the documents, signed my name, and walked over to my desk. Someone had replaced my chair with a large exercise ball. I kicked it across the room, watching it bounce off the glass wall. I sat in a proper office chair, opened my terminal, and logged in using my credentials. I entered my administrator name, typed my password, and pressed my finger against the biometric scanner. The security screen blinked, verifying my identity. The terminal console was a dark screen filled with scrolling system diagnostics, but my fingers knew the keyboard commands by heart. I ran the system override program, bypassing the temporary security locks and restoring the database authentication. Within seconds, the status indicators on the wall monitors began to change. The red indicators representing offline warehouses turned yellow, and then a solid, steady green as they established a stable connection. The automated routing server began recalculating the coordinates for all 1,120 vehicles, sending updated instructions to the driver's dashboard units. I could hear the immediate sigh of relief from the board members in the room, and the phones began ringing almost immediately as operations resumed. I stood up, looked at Chloe, and told her to have the meditation cushions removed by morning. Sometimes the old ways are the only ways that keep the wheels turning.